Uh, Welcome to Talking Famous People. I am host Zachary. We have the Retrodictive One, and we have famous person Patrick, Basement Overlord, and Patrick's going to tell us if morality is ultimately relative or not.
If morality is ultimately relative or not. Um, Give me an example of morality.
Whether or not it's just or unjust to stab a baby in the eyes.
And you're asking if that's relative?
Yeah.
Of course that's relative. I mean, humans like invented it, right? Like humans invented like the concept of morality. So like if humans didn't exist,
So mathematics is relative. Is what you're saying.
why would mathematics be relative?
Because it's a concept of the mind.
Well, the difference is, I feel like the difference is with mathematics, like it already exists in real life. We're just putting labels on it.
Does it
Discovered.
exist in real life?
He thinks it's discovered
Hmm.
truth.
Or does it exist as an abstract concept attempting to
I guess
categorize?
math. Well, okay. Hmm. I mean, I guess math is relative, right? Because we've just assigned numbers to things.
So it's different depending on the person.
Let's define
No.
relative. Let's define relative and absolute. Well, I mean, it's a language, but we utilize it changes, but not while we're using it. Math is a language. You're right, but all right. So the relative issue is this is this statement or conclusion conditional upon outside stuff, or do we have enough information now to determine it regardless of outside stuff? So if if I point to a dead bird in the street and say that bird's dead, it's not relative. It's it's
Hmm.
true compared. It's true that we understand the word dead by comparing it to that which is alive. But that doesn't mean that bird is relatively dead. It's dead compared to something else. It's not dead compared to the most lively thing, but not as dead compared to something that's resting. It's just dead, not relative.
Hmm.
As opposed to that bird is slow would be relative because it's compared to which other birds. Unless it's the slowest bird in the world, in which case it's still relative to other birds. Well, it might
Hmm.
be in heaven, but it's still dead on Earth.
Yeah. So it's like, well, if something's ethical versus unethical, like those are two distinct categories. Versus slow is like continuum. So if it's like, so like you could say like killing, if stabbing that baby is medium ethical, that would be like relative in your analogy. But like if you said like ethical versus unethical, those are two distinct categories.
Right, it's binary versus sliding scale. And so on the binary ones, it's not relative. On the sliding scale ones, it is relative.
Hmm.
And so
And
what
then,
Zach's
although the
asking
thing I'm
is
thinking of is,
which kind is
go
morality?
ahead.
Which kind is ethics or morality? Is it binary or is it sliding scale? That's what he's asking.
Hmm. Um,
I don't think that's what I'd be asking. Is it binary depending on the subject?
well,
It,
because
Right.
it's like if say we just make up two things that are largely considered unethical, such as stealing dollars from someone versus murdering 1,000 people. Those are both largely considered unethical, but they're also largely considered different in terms of magnitude.
Right. I mean, if you agree, I think most people would agree that killing 1,000 people would be more unjust than stealing $10.
Hmm.
And we so that then you that upon that criteria, we can say there's an objective standard we can hold acts to, right?
But also, what if you
There,
stole $10 from someone to save 1,000 people from dying?
That's the question. See, the other thing is irrelevant. The other thing where you're saying, I don't even know what that is, but the real question is not. It's about whether you can justify outcomes. I mean, justify behaviors based on outcomes. If I can, if I'm a doctor and I'm sitting in there in the hospital, and I'm like, the nurse rushes over, Doctor Hosteric, Dr. Hosteric, listen, we've got a carload of victims come in. Here's Jenny Sue. She's just 8 years old and she needs a new liver. She's been in a car accident. And then, oh, and here's her grandmother, old Elizabeth, and she needs a new spleen. And here's her father, and he needs a new heart. And here's her mother, and she needs new lungs. And here's her little brother, and he needs a new penis.
Yeah.
And he needs it now. He's desperate. He's got to use it this evening. He's going to go out later. And I'm the doctor. I'm like, oh my God, this whole family's been massacred almost by this car crash. How terrible. In walks Basement Overlord. I'm like,
Don't fucking make Metasoap walk in.
and I get my knife out. And oh, you've got a cold, Basement Overlord. I'm so sorry to hear that. Come over here. Can you look at this down here on the floor for me real quick? Just look at that real quick. Can you read that to me? And then he falls down. He wakes up briefly on the operating table. Where am I? And then he wakes up dead. I've taken all his organs out. I've given them to that family.
So when you die, you actually wake up. Huh, interesting.
You do. But you saved the whole family, so it's okay, right? I saved the whole family out of
Yeah,
that.
that's the question. That's the question.
It's not
relative,
okay.
bro.
That's the answer. It's not okay. It's not relative. It's not okay. That's the answer.
well, it's not okay based on the deontological framework.
Yeah.
Yeah, my point
Our
is
framework-
that's right,
okay.
and the alternative is wrong. It's right in terms of logically, and it's right in terms morally. And the other side is wrong logically and wrong morally.
So within our framework, though, it's not relative, okay? But you could have different frameworks of morality, right?
Sure. But they're
Okay.
not the same quality.
Yeah.
Because some of them do more imposition upon other people than others. Our frameworks are equally good if we apply them only to ourselves. It doesn't matter what the hell we're talking about. My framework is every Tuesday is stab self in leg day with a pencil. And I get a pencil. Oh, it's Tuesday. Yeah. Wonderful times. It's great. If you want to do that yourself, fine. But when your model also says, now for you, stab self in the leg with pencil day is Wednesday. I'll be checking in on you tomorrow to make sure you're doing it. If not, you're going to get stabbed by 50 pencils.
Metasoap asks,
Where's the-
Eric, why are you so fixed on your moral framework? It's cultist.
I didn't pick the fucking topic of conversation. My point is that it's wrong to say that it's relative because you can compare them on a simple vector that makes the most sense of any other. That my position is vastly more respectful of other human beings than being quiet and not arguing with them and not pointing out their wrongness. Because my position, if I'm wrong and I win, everybody's fine. If other positions to this win and they're wrong, then not everybody's fine. Metasoap, it's annoying. Well, is this a topic? I don't know what to tell you about that. Considering me abashed, I don't know. Is that what I'm supposed to be? For the purposes of now? What are you guys' thoughts on this right-wrong thing. You guys are both arguing relativity, right?
I was asking
Well,
you,
I
but
mean, I'm not sure.
not argue from any position.
What's that?
Like, I mean, I see your. Well, it's like if, like, the point I'm trying to make, and I have a hard time explaining it, is like, if I stab someone under the framework that most people believe, yeah, that's unethical. But if there isn't a framework, then it's not ethical or unethical. Like, stabbing, the act of stabbing someone has no meaning to it whatsoever unless we assign it meaning. And we have assigned it meaning of being unethical. So we had to assign it that. It didn't just happen and then it just gained the quality of being unethical.
I, I, I think you're. I think you got it backwards. Personally, I think it's this. Somebody stabs somebody, and then we have a choice. We either react to it in a world that recognizes that as something that ought to be condemned, or react to it from a worldview that says,
No, what I'm saying is we're not even in that point. Like imagine if just like we are observing from a non-human perspective. We're like what it like the we're just observing one person stab. Yeah, like say we're aliens, we just descend on Earth. We have our own moral code, whatever, and we see some human stab another human, and we're just like, okay, that human stabbed another human. That's what happened. There's no label of okay, that was unethical, that was ethical. It's just like okay, this thing happened,
"I
and then oh
disagree."
look, these other humans over here were watching and said that that was unethical. Interesting.
I
But
disagree.
that's just a thought experiment. If we're coming to a position of morality, if we're trying to define morality, then we have to argue from a human perspective. It makes no
But,
sense.
but beyond that,
Like the sun.
listen. Beyond that, it's a matter of you're saying that stuff happens and then we assign a moral assignment to it. I'm saying human existence cannot manifest without that moral component. In fact, none of the things we do that matter at all in our lives don't have a moral component to them. And in fact, as is evidenced here, look, I'm arguing a given position, and my position is an answer to relativism in general. Metasoap's annoyed by it because she says I'm being a control freak, even though I'm advocating for individuals who operate according to a negative rights framework, which is the furthest thing in the world from controlling. Because this perspective, as I keep stressing, is the one that does not infringe upon the worldviews and moral frameworks of others. If in fact all moral frameworks are relative, if in fact all moral frameworks are relative, then in fact there's no reason to prefer any of them, and the one that denies their relativity and that says your moral framework it subjects you to violence, physical violence, real world violence, not rhetorical violence, real world violence, then that moral framework is just as valid as any other. Now, obviously, if that's the case, then that moral framework is the only moral framework anyone should ever have because it's the most violent moral framework. If we have a relativist worldview, the most violent moral framework is the most correct moral framework because there's no other perspective to adjudicate them on. If instead we adjudicate it on who
Okay, well, define violence. Define violence.
I mean actual physical violence in this instance. That if you're in the Middle East, you are ascribed to a worldview that subjects atheists to physical violence. Like actual physical violence. Like cut their head off and shit, you know? So, in that case, you can evaluate those two worldviews clearly. This one's good, this one's bad. Why is this one good or bad? Well, because one of them permits both to exist concurrently. The other one, it either is right to the exclusion, in which case the moral relativists aren't making any point at all then because they're supporting the guy who's saying it's right to the exclusion of all others. He's going to win, right? That's the position that's going to win. Or he's wrong and we're not subject to that. And if he's wrong, if it is wrong to imprison atheists, in other words, if that action is wrong, then that worldview is wrong because it allows it, supports it, and legitimizes it. It's not wrong compared to ours. It's not wrong compared to anything except the truth, which is it's committing violence against somebody who did nothing wrong and deserves none of that. Just how it is.
Yeah, but it would only be wrong committing violence under your framework, though.
Okay, but if that's the case, then you can't say they're all equal. You just say, instead of it being, it's not that they're it's just wrong under my framework. If you position it that way, you're saying, no, the most violent framework is correct. A relativist thing is saying, no, the most violent framework is the most correct. Because they will be adjudicated on something. It will for sure. If violence is nothing else. I'm a Muslim and want you to believe my worldview. My worldview is better because it's more violent. With a gun to your head, you will be praying to Mecca or whatever. If we imagine oppressors, this is why moral relativism is unacceptable. Because to say that, well, it's true under your framework, Eric, but it's not true in general, is to say, no, what's true in general is that whoever has the most guns is the most correct. The same thing, saying the same sentence. I gotta go get my cigarettes from the car. I think I have some in the car.
What happened to Metasoap? Did you get frustrated with Eric? What are you thinking, Pat?
I was thinking about how much I cared about that topic on a scale of 1 to 10.
Well, what would it be? Wait, are you implying that the importance of defining morality isn't significant and to our foundation of law?
Oh man. I think it has a lot of significance, but I'm going to leave it up to the people who care about it more than I do. And I'll take the things that they don't care about.
I care about it insofar as that I feel like there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake because under any framework, there's going to be some violence, right? And so it's important for me to identify what the implications for that violence are and if they are morally legitimate. So that's where I stand.
I guess I'm the opposite. It's like I'd rather look at a case and decide based on that case whether or not whatever else could have happened would have been better or whatever, if that's what you're talking about. Like, if you're talking about applying a principle to a bunch of cases, it's like I'd rather look at a case and then draw something from that.
Well,
it's fine to take that approach in general with things that aren't public policy.
Yeah, that's the thing. That when there are policies being made on the basis of like moral affirmations, then,
I have to go get more cigarettes.
Comment...
I'll be right back, guys. I have to get more cigarettes. I can't find them. I just stopped in briefly to tell you that. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. I guess I really wanted Eric to be here for this conversation, but see, it's commonplace in.
I'll listen. I'm listening though. I'm listening right now while I'm getting ready to go. So I'll comment in a second, or later when I come back.
Okay. All right. What I was going to say is that it's commonplace, or it's becoming commonplace in our society now that social policies and sort of the, I guess, policies that widespread help a number of individuals, presumably, are the more moral thing to do. such as like this. It's like you contribute that to the rise of like kind of like Bernie Sanders at the moment.
Mhm.
And under Eric's worldview, that would be morally illegitimate. But to a lot of, or there's a lot of discourse to whether or not it is morally legitimate.
What are you saying it is?
The policies, socialist policies, pretty much like a social
Oh.
like, because to afford the social programs, there has to be a system of taxation, right, under a society.
Mhm.
And under Eric's framework, it would be immoral to compromise on an individual's wealth within the society to do so. But under another framework, it would be immoral to not compromise on that wealth if by doing so you contributed to the well-being of various members within the society, right? That's where the discourse comes in, and I think that's why it's significant to have the conversation, right?
Hold on. Wait, did you just say that? According to me, it's whether it contributes the taxation, the tax monies are contributing to something useful. It's not.
I'm saying it.
Go ahead.
Go on. I'm saying that it would, under your framework, something. I think under your framework, the natural rights framework, that all taxation would be considered immoral, unless it's something that directly benefits the person willfully paying the taxes.
Right. I think it have to be either voluntary or something. But that's correct. I guess I misheard or something. My position is that if we as a group really want to fund something, we should be able to do it voluntarily.
Hmm. And see, that's why I think it's important to have the conversation. But earlier, while you were gone, we were talking about the significance of the question of moral relativity and stuff like that. Because there's a huge percentage of people now who are convinced that the moral it would be more just to take money from like the top 1% and redistribute it towards social programs to help people like the bottom lower class and stuff. So that's where I think a lot of the moral discourse happens within our society currently.
I think it might be. I always stress it's a good idea to try to change the framework. It might be a better idea to try to argue.
I'm gonna go. Actually, I want to stay longer, but I know if I stay longer, it's gonna be like another half an hour. I'm gonna shower and watch this movie. So I'll see you guys.
See ya.
Later, Pat.
Wait, she says, wait.
Wait. Metasoap says, wait, one more thing. Wait. And, oh my god, Metasoap.
It's porn. It's porn, Metasoap. Okay, it's porn. He didn't want to tell you. He's got to whack off right now. He's like, Jesus, I better get this over with, or else it's going to be too late.
Alright. See ya, host Zach. See ya, the retro-addictive one. See ya, Metasoap. Peace out.
Enjoy your porn. Now he's frozen in time forever, trapped in a quantum superposition. I still have to go get cigarettes. What was that thing? Yeah.
Go ahead and end the video too, unless there's anything else.
In the video. I gotta go get cigarettes and everything else in the video. That's with me, right? I'm in the video. Forgot. All right, end in the video.